Supervisor Syed, I'm here. Deputy Chief Stevens. Deputy Supervisor Faminsky is here. Town Clerk Michelle Martinelli, I see. I don't see Town Attorney Briggs. I don't see him on. I see Judge Scagnelli. Judge Swinton. Good morning. Confidential Secretary of Practice. I do not see. Oh, wait, I do see. I'm sorry. I don't see Deputy Town Attorney Finnan. PDA President Comanzo, I do not see. Chief Lingenfelter, I see. Comptroller Alarm. And Janet Wen. Is she going to be on today, isn't it?
Good morning, everybody. No, she's
I see Josh Halley and Councilwoman Denise Murphy McGraw. Anyone else that I didn't call? Okay. Make a motion to accept March's minutes.
Motion to accept the minutes.
Thank you. Second?
I will second.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'll start with operations. Currently, there is no reported cases of COVID within the department. Am I giving feedback?
Yeah, we're getting feedback. If everybody could mute, please, that would help. We're getting a lot of feedback. If everybody could check to mute, please. Thank you.
Our Police Reform and Reinvention Collaborative Report was passed by resolution by the town board and submitted to the governor's office by April 1st in accordance with Executive Order 203. The police department is committed to working together with the town board and the community to begin implementation. This was a long, daunting task. A lot of people put a lot of effort into this, and we are super excited to work together with everyone on this. There's a lot of people that I kind of have to thank that worked on this, and one is the people that were in the committee that put a lot of hours in. Brian Backus put a lot of hours into this. Elena Finnan, when I think she worked long hours prior to the town board voting on this. And I am, and I know the officers are looking forward to working towards implementing the things that are in the report. One of the things that we did in March 12th, we added public safety to our mission statement. It was something that bothered a few people that were on the committee, and it was just adding 2 words to our mission statement. It was a easy fix, in my opinion, and it made people happy. And I think that's, little things like that, little steps like that, easy fixes. And, one of the things that this executive order did is made us look at ourselves and, things that we can do to make our police department better. Any comments, questions?
No, I think I want to thank you for that and reiterate your thanks to everyone involved. As you said, many, many hours were put in by not only town employees, but by the residents of our town to produce the plan, which we will continue to work on the implementation of the plan and recommendations as time goes forward.
Okay. Excuse me. So, the other thing is we've opened back up the public service programs, including installation of the child safety seats, fingerprinting of citizens, and doing motor vehicle lockouts. All of our officers that wanted to get the vaccine have gotten the vaccine. So we're feeling pretty comfortable as far as that, as far as protection, from the COVID. And, I mean, still wearing masks, using proper precautions. So we have opened that back up. We are going to post it on the town website. So we're starting to open things back up. To fleet and equipment. The bids have been received for acquisition of the 2 new patrol vehicles, and we have ordered them from Ford. We're awaiting 3 quotes for the vehicle upfitting. We don't have to go with bids this year because we're just transferring from the cars that get replaced. So now we're just waiting for quotes for the transferring of the upfitting. And on to building. The installation of the new security lock system has begun. It's about 90% complete. Charlie Bergami worked very hard on this, and he did a lot of work on this, and I really appreciate all the work that he put into this project. It was a big project. So, any questions on that? Has anyone had any issues with their fobs? Everyone will be getting new fobs eventually. So that'll be down the line. Any questions on that? No? Okay. Okay, I know everyone is interested in training, so we'll move on to training. All the supervisors, to include myself and Deputy Chief Stevens, attended a 6-hour virtual accreditation manager training program provided by DCJS. Detective Hisham Kafaga completed a 2-week evidence technician training program conducted at the Zone 5 Academy. And Police One online training, is continuing for all sworn personnel. We have scheduled our CPR recertification training and spring firearms training. It's scheduled for April and May on the Everybody Workday, which happens every 21 days. And the initial planning for a countywide active shooter training, it's going to occur in the fall. It's going to be conducted in Niskayuna this year. So we're super excited about that. Any questions on training? Oh, okay. On to citizen issues. I'm going to bring up a couple problem issues that we've talked about often, and that's Wyoming and also Fieldstone. I kind of reached out to Laura Robertson for these 2 roads. And Laura, you're on there. I don't know if you want to kind of speak to this, but she went to her Complete Streets Committee, and they're going to work on these 2 streets. Laura, do you want to talk about this?
Sure. Yeah. So the residents of Wyoming have been coming to the Complete Streets meetings and talking about some of the concerns they have. And based on the Regent demonstration project that we did, we are trying to make sure that everybody on the block knows about the demonstration project and is excited about it. And we're also going to coordinate any demonstration project, hopefully with all the right parties. But we really think that because they're coming and they're so excited to work with us, that this is a great place for a demonstration project. So Chief has in parentheses speed table. I think that's the one that we really want to try. But the Complete Streets Committee is the one that's really working on this, and they're going to work on a letter to the Wyoming people and have them look at a couple things, and then we'll hone in on what everybody is happy with. But that's one of the things they're working for on Wyoming. And then the other thing is, and Deputy Chief Stevens has been helping us with this, is just seeing if we can figure out really what is the issue with the yield sign, and can we recommend that it be changed to a stop sign. So those are the two things we're working on for Wyoming. For Fieldstone's a lot wider. It gives us a lot more flexibility. So we're thinking Fieldstone in the fall, and Fieldstone might be a better place for chicanes or a median or something. So Fieldstone we haven't really started working on. It's going to be in the fall. And Wyoming we've dived right into, and we're hoping to do that one in the spring. And we're hoping, I don't think it's going to cost a whole lot of money, because a lot of this stuff that we do, the demonstration projects, are for free. It typically only costs between $200 and $800. But if it does cost more money to do speed bumps, we want to look to CDTC to get Capital Coexist. They help us. They just give us $1,000 to do these things sometimes.
Great, thank you, Laura.
Fran, you're muted.
Thank you. We did get a complaint of speed on Dean Street near Graham Boulevard. We did speak to the patrols about conducting traffic enforcement in that area. And Deputy Chief Stevens put the speed box out there. Mike, can you talk about that?
Absolutely. Yep, we conducted a 24-hour study on Dean Street near Graham Boulevard. We used the dual counters. We got both directions, and starting to feel like a bit of a broken record. But the good news is the average speed was 25 miles an hour, so we're actually below the speed limit, which is good. The 85th percentile was 32. The trouble becomes the total vehicles was 1,187 in 24 hours. Again, that's both directions. But obviously, like we've seen on other studies on Dean Street, Regent Street, all those that run parallel to Balltown Road, there's definitely a high traffic volume. That seems to be our issue there. So, but overall, the good news was the speed was the average speed was below the speed limit, which is a good sign.
Thank you, Mike. And I'm also going to talk about the towing policies and procedures. Now, Councilman McPartlin has expressed a pressing interest to have this issue addressed. So again, we're just waiting to hear back from Attorney Paul Briggs on this.
So I've gotten all the different records and reviewed them, and so I think we need to sit down with the chief and the deputy chief and I and develop a policy to present to the committee.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Paul. Community events. The police department assisted with traffic control for the annual Easter drive-through parade this year. It was very successful. Looked like everybody really enjoyed themselves. And on to town clerk. Michelle, do you have anything for today?
No, I just wanted to say that we've been pretty busy down here collecting all the alarm fees. Annette's doing a good job keeping up with all that. And also our dog license renewal. It's important that everybody knows that a dog license is a yearly renewable license. And some people still aren't clear on that, but we're getting a lot of renewals in from the dog census that we did last year. So I think the word's gotten out that, you do have to renew your dog licenses yearly. And otherwise, I think that's it.
Okay, thank you.
Michelle, do you do a mailing on the dog licenses the way we do the water bills and the other annual
Yeah, so-
law debris?
Yeah, so sure. Every month, we mail out a dog renewal license to anybody that has been, licensed. Yep. That's a monthly thing that we mail out.
Thank you.
And then we also do reminders if they forget, like we do those too.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Michelle.
Fran.
On to town court issues. Judges?
Well, I know we're back open. We're seeing people. My last court night, we did it virtually, and we were able to knock out probably 10 or 12 cases, which was a big improvement over weeks past. The work is piling up, and we got to start digging out. And I'll defer to Steve as to he had in person last time, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
Tomorrow night I'll be will be my court night, and we'll have people in person.
yeah. Last week I had a combination virtual in person because we're still operating under OCA's restrictions as to occupancy, so we can't have that many people in the courtroom at any given time. So we did a mix. I had some in person, and we're also still trying to kind of cherry pick criminal cases that we can dispose of, with the next appearance. That where we've had an offer on the table, it's acceptable or not acceptable, but we can move the case along. So we're trying to take as many of those virtually as we can. We're taking pleas virtually, we're sentencing virtually, which we've all got our fingers crossed, not just us, all the courts in the state and probably the country all have our fingers crossed that we're not going to have an appellate issue that sends back any of those pleas or sentences. But if there is such an issue, we will certainly not be alone. So hopefully the restrictions on in-person get loosened a little bit, and we can have more people in. And we have switched to pretty much all virtual or all mail-in disposition of vehicle and traffic stuff, which I have a feeling that's probably here to stay, and I think it will be an improvement now that the DA's office has their website up and running. I don't see any of the ADAs looking to bring people in to negotiate, traffic disposition. So that in the future, that may significantly lighten up our court nights so we can handle more criminal cases.
Can I ask a question
Sure.
from the judges? So you are catching up because I wasn't here last year. So you are catching up from last year's cases now?
Well, last year's and this year's.
Right.
Oh, wow.
And more significantly, as what Steve hasn't touched on is the civil matters, particularly evictions. They're going to pile up, and once the restrictions on evictions for non-payment go away, we're going to I'm anticipating now, and I'm sure Steve is too, Wednesday night's our regular court night, and we're holding court on Thursday afternoon to catch up on some of the civil matters. And I see that in the short term, that I think we're going to be doing more of that.
Yeah, I think we're going to have a separate civil night for quite some time. Once, if and when all of the restrictions on evictions are lifted, whether it's federal or state. But once those start lifting, yeah, we already had an attorney who represents one of the apartment complexes in town call us saying he has, I'll use a different term, a wheelbarrow full of evictions, and he's just waiting for all the restrictions to lift so he can actually file on them and we can get moving on them. But when we were open briefly in the fall and all those restrictions were lifted, I had 29 in one night.
That we walked in with 12
right.
in a clip.
So that's going to be a whole separate thing, but that's really on Pete and me to handle that, because that doesn't involve the public defender or the DA's office. And that's really the restriction we have right now. We can't spread out our criminal cases onto another night, which would be another way to handle it, because those ADAs and those public defenders handle other courts. So there's only so many nights that we can steal them for. So the idea was we'll move all of our civil stuff off to one night when we don't need them. And try to keep our Wednesday nights for criminal matters when we do need them.
Wow, great. And thank you so much. Really
Can I
appreciate
ask
it.
a quick question, judges? I know a question came up about prisoners we have to bring up from the jail. Are we still able to do theirs virtually or no?
Yes, and at the sheriff's request, we are doing as many of those virtually as we can. They're trying not to transport prisoners more than they have to, obviously because of COVID. So to the extent, and I just had one the other night where we just add in the sheriff's office to our team's invitation, and they produce them down at their virtual spot down there. The only thing that will come up where we may end up having, there may be an instance where we have to get a defendant in front of us for sentencing or something. But I think those are going to be pretty few and far between. So to the extent we can do, incarcerated defendants virtually at the sheriff's request, we are still doing it.
Okay. All right, good.
And the technology now, I mean, we were, when this first broke, our ability in the courtroom, and I know Steve will attest to this, it just wasn't handled. We weren't getting audio. We had to call them up on the telephone. Documents were going back and forth. It really was very cumbersome, and that has been streamlined. So it's much more facile to arrange somebody virtually than it was 6-8 months ago.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, because I know a question like how many could the jail bring up, and I don't think that we'd be comfortable having more than 2 at a time, because we just can't keep them, 6 feet apart.
Yeah, the message I got from the sheriff is they're not really comfortable bringing any if they can avoid it.
I kind of thought
So
that.
it'll be as needed.
Okay.
Needed.
All right, perfect. Thank you. Okay.
Chief, can I have a minute to give an update about the grant? So I've asked our grant writer, Sue Lombardi, to look into body cams. And she just emailed me that usually in spring, DCJS, they have the grant for body cams, but they don't have it right now. So usually they come in spring, so she will keep looking for new avenues for the body cams, but right now there is none right now that she knows of, but we'll keep looking.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. Fire department, Dale?
Hi, good morning. Just a couple things. The town gas tank's fully operational now down behind our River Road station. Seems to be working pretty well from everything I can tell. Thanks to Josh Hawley and his crew for putting that together. Just got a little landscaping to do once Mother Nature cooperates with us. And we did have the Niskaday committee did have a meeting. They've held on August 21st for it'll be kind of an abbreviated Niskaday. They're looking at doing 3 simultaneous parades in different neighborhoods. Sounds like they kind of correspond with the fire districts, but I haven't seen details on those. And Chief, I don't know if you have either, but it may be something you want to keep tuned into, because I'm not sure what kind of support they're going to need for that. They're going to have a band like from 6 to 8, fireworks around 8:30. So the time frame's condensed, but that's their plan at this point. We're working on a submission for the COVID-19 disaster relief that they declared back in about a year ago. We've got some things that we can submit for reimbursement for that. And I wanted to thank Chief Wall for a couple of your officers there that volunteered their time to help out with our St. Patrick's Day drive-through dinner. It was pretty good success. Raised some good money for Niski Now, and things went really smooth. So please pass on our appreciation for that. And we're looking forward to the active shooter training this year. We'll probably be in touch with you for some of the planning. So that's all I have.
Okay, absolutely. Thank you, Dale. Ryan, is there anything from the school district to pass on?
Not at this time, Chief.
Okay, thank you. And personnel, so I met with Supervisor Syed, Councilman McPartlin, and Deputy Chief to discuss hiring and assignment of a new community service officer. Budgetary consideration was discussed regarding the hiring of a new officer, including a lateral placement. I know this supervisor met with the comptroller, and things were off a little bit, so I don't know if it's going to be held up. I would like to at least be able to hire a lateral by May 1st. This lateral that I'm looking at would just be an asset to the police department. He's got a master's degree. He's an instructor in just about every police topic. He's a firearms instructor, which we just lost by CJ Kohlmeyer's retirement, or not retirement, resignation. So that would, we wouldn't have to send someone else to firearms training to become an instructor. It would really help if we could hire this lateral. We'd have like built-in police training right in the department. But I guess we'll have to put our heads together again and try to figure something out to make this happen.
Yeah, you had gotten, apparently, Yasmin, you and Isma had met after the meeting that we had, Fran, and I CC'd you the copy of that later yesterday. I know still working on budgetary numbers, and they were different than the numbers that we saw on Thursday. I think that's when we met. Now numbers aren't looking as promising as we had hoped in the budget for that. I don't know if Yasmin wants to speak to that. I know she's been working both with you, me, and Isma to try to find the funds in order to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I could speak to that. And thank you all for your work and cooperation on this. We have had one departure to the department, actually two retirements to the department. So those combined have actualized savings, significant savings. Those savings will balance the deficit that we have from the department. As everyone knows, this was a very atypical budget year, including the town board needing to implement a budget challenge. And so we do need to address the budget challenge, which that will be done through the various, the departure, the two retirements. So the consideration now for the lateral, that could be funded in two ways. Chief Wall has identified a potential retirement in the department. With the actualization of that retirement, that's one avenue in which the lateral could be funded. Or alternatively, and this is a decision that the town board will have to make, is up and until that retirement is actualized, the money would come from fund balance, and the lateral could be hired in anticipation of a retirement, which we have done before. However, we've done that in better budget years, I guess, for lack of a better term. We have been utilizing our fund balance to a greater degree than we have in years past. It's all due to COVID-19 challenges that we've experienced. So again, those are the two avenues in which the lateral could be funded. And again, Chief has spoken about this individual's background, seems like a great candidate person that would be good for the department in many different ways. So it will be a discussion that we will need to continue, and ultimately a decision that the town board will need to make collectively. If anybody has any questions, I could answer them.
Can I add one thing to it? There could be a third possibility. I know that DCGS, they used to give out COPS grant. So it will be like they would pay for the full funding of the officers, whatever it is, for 4 years, and the 5th year, the city or the town will have to fund that. And then the 6th year, depending upon the fiscal situation of the city or the town, you might or you might not, retain them. So usually what happens, you retain them because people are retiring, people are moving. So I've asked our grant writer to look into this. So there are no promises, but she's looking into any possibility that we can do.
Isman, I got a question for you. So I'm looking at the email that you had sent later yesterday with the retirements and resignations in the police department, but I don't see the former chief on there. Is that because that was last year in 2020 and these that are listed on here are just for 2021?
That's right, Bill. I mean, Fran took over chief's job. So once again, we budgeted the current staffing. That's what the agreement that and by that time, the previous chief had already left. So we have budgeted for 29 people. And that was in the last year. So in the middle, I think, Fran, you started maybe in August, September. So that's when that position, Fran took over, and the lieutenant were not budgeted this year for our budget discussions.
I guess it comes down to people, right? Number of people. Is that correct, Fran, Chief?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that, Bill?
People, right? You always talk about number of officers. So I guess that's
Right.
the question.
Yeah, so we're down to 27 officers, with 2 of those that will never work. So we're really down to 25 working officers right now.
But those are ones we're still on our payroll, as they say, until such time as we don't know when that will change.
Correct.
Okay, well, we got to keep working on this.
Okay, and so the plan is to come up with some sort of proposal that will be presented to the town board on either by Bill or by the supervisor?
Yes, we can make this proposal to the town board during finance committee. So it would be next week.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Supervisor, I think you were going to call executive session. Does anyone have anything else?
I just had one last calendar matter. Chief reminded me when he was talking about parades, we're going to, thank you to the chief and the supervisor, we are going to have the senior class parade again this year. It was a great success last year, and that will be Saturday, June 24th. And that's all I have.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to motion to enter into executive session pursuant to Public Officers Law, Section 105, subsection F, to discuss the medical history of a particular person. Do I have a second on that motion?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we're going to enter into executive session. At the conclusion of executive session, we will take up no further business from the floor, and we will be adjourned for the day. The individuals who I would like to stay for executive session, any town board member, the chief, the comptroller, the town attorney. Everybody else, enjoy the day.
Next meeting is May 4th.
Take care, folks.
Yes, May 4th for the next meeting. Thanks, Bill.